Hi everyone. Today video is on generating JWT access token in GraphQL API. So this is an optional implementation because .NET 5 or .NET Core, when we integrate GraphQL, it supports both normal .NET endpoints as well as GraphQL endpoints. In this case, we can purely implement our login APIs using .NET endpoints only. But if you want to create your complete application using GraphQL API, like generating JWT or authenticating with that token, for that purpose, I am creating this video. Okay, so in this video, we are going to generate the access token by invoking a GraphQL API endpoint. Before going any further, I want to show that this is my blog. I have created everything that I am going to explain in this video. So if you want to go through the blog, link will be available in the description under the video. So you can check over there. So everything I am going to explain in this video is furnished into this blog. So you can check here. So for this demo purpose, I am going to create a .NET 5 Web API application. In that, I am going to integrate GraphQL services. So let me create .NET 5 Web API application. Okay, command is like .NET new and Web API template name and my application name. Here I am going to use the GraphQL hot chocolate library that has so many pre-built functionalities and it's available with that library. So it makes very easy to develop or integrate the GraphQL endpoint using the hot chocolate library. Okay. So this command going to create a .NET 5 Web API application for me. If you are using Visual Studio 2019, please make sure to have the 16.8 point something, the latest version of the Visual Studio, where .NET 5 is able to build in that version only. Below that version, you are going to get compiler issues. So make sure to have the latest version of the Visual Studio. So here my template is successfully created. Let's open the project. So here is my API project. Once go to cproj file. Okay, here you can see my target framework, which is .NET 5. Okay, so my sample application is created with .NET 5. Now, first step is I want to install the hot chocolate GraphQL library. For that, you need to search like hot chocolate GraphQL. You get. So here you can see the first is like a global one. Don't install it. Here hot chocolate ASP.NET Core. This can be used from a .NET Core as well as from .NET 5 onwards. Okay. So let's open this. For Visual Studio users, please copy the package manager command. I am using Visual Studio Code, right, where I will have .NET CLI. So I am copying this command. So I'm going to open my terminal. Will paste my command and install it. I think it is installed successfully. Let's check in my preferences. See, in C project, whatever we installed, we can see over there. So here is my hot chocolate library package that was attached to my C project file. That means the library is successfully installed. Okay. First step, installing library is completed. Next is we need to configure GraphQL services. Okay. And one more thing I want to mention, this video is on JWT implementation is GraphQL, right? Uh, This video is only for the developers who are already well known about the GraphQL, because here I am not going to explain everything in detail. If you are a new user, if you are a new viewer to the GraphQL, my suggestion is I have already created couple of introduction videos on GraphQL. What is GraphQL and how to invoke the GraphQL in endpoint, and how to develop the GraphQL endpoint in .NET 5. Everything I have explained in the uh, beginners videos, couple of videos. I think you can check out the playlist in my channel. Okay, then come to this video. So here, as we need to configure the GraphQL server, service dot GraphQL server. Please make sure to add GraphQL server only. Okay. After adding the GraphQL server, we need to configure the endpoint for the GraphQL. For that, you can simply go to the use endpoints middleware and add one more endpoint like map GraphQL. Okay. So that's the configuration for the startup file. Now, here our main goal is when the user password is email and password is entered, we need to send this payload to our GraphQL endpoint. So in GraphQL, there are two main operations like query or mutation. Query is for fetching and mutation is for the changing the state of the database. So in this approach, for making login user, you can use either query or mutation. But I recommended or most preferred is mutation, because in the mutation, we might, when user login, we might have a chances to change the user login time, last login time, or something like saving refresh token into the database, or any updations might needed based on your business. So it is really apt to use mutation. If you are doing nothing to log in the user, then you can use query as well. But the recommended way is mutation. So here I am going to create a mutation, and inside of it I am going to create user login resolver, where it contains the logic to generate the uh, validating user against the data source, and if it is a valid user, then it will going to generate the JWT access token. Okay, so for that, first step I want is I need a model that receives the payload from the user. So that model is like login input. Let's create like that. Okay, for that what I will do, I will create folder like models. Okay, here you can add input.cs. Okay, let's create a model file. So for user payload for login, mainly we will have properties like email and the password. For that, I am going to create two properties. So this is my user payload object, but this is C# class. This class is directly can't be understand or read by the GraphQL. So to make it understand, we need to create, to make it understand by the GraphQL, we need to create one more model like input object type. Okay, that is GraphQL type, where that is specifically to map the input objects of C# class to GraphQL. Means any payload that is sending from the user to map with the GraphQL, we need to create a one more class, and that class should inherit the input object type from that is created from the hot chocolate library types. Okay, So for that, let's create another class like input object type. So for that, what I will do, I will create one more folder for graph models, GraphQL models. Okay. And inside of it, I will have another folder like input object types. Okay, inside of it, I'm going to create a file like login input object type.cs. Okay, now let's create that. Let's create the class, public class, and login input object type. So to make this class as a GraphQL object type, we need to inherit input object type. See, this is derived from the hot chocolate types. Let's import the namespace. Okay, and here we need to pass our original C# class, that is nothing but login input. Okay, see, now this class will be a GraphQL mapper for this login inputs plain C# class. And here we need to register all the properties in the login input inside of the login output as the objects. Okay, so for that we need to override configure method. Here we need to register our properties as fields. So descriptor dot field, and field name is like all the properties from the login input like email, and I can name it as email. This name extension method is the name that GraphQL understands. Okay, and the type, it is string type. See, this is string type is nothing but the GraphQL scalar types, one of the scalar type. In C# we use string, right? In GraphQL hot chocolate library, string means string type. Register it. Descriptor dot field. Okay, password dot name, password, and its type also string type. So that's all about the login input object type. So next thing, we need to create a mutation, so that in that mutation we will have the methods or the resolvers. Those are the nothing but state changing resolvers, means something updated into database. So here I need to write a resolver for a user authentication, like verifying the user and returning the JWT access token to the client. So for that, I need to create a file like mutation. So what I'll do here, I will create one more folder, GraphQL core. Okay. Inside of it, I'm going to create mutation.cs. Okay. Public class mutation. Okay. So this is my mutation class. Here I need to register my or develop my logic to create the user login resolver. So before going to do that, here I am not going to use database every because it takes some time consume to develop everything in database. But if you want to use a database, how to configure database into the GraphQL for mutation or queries, everything is explained in my introduction videos. You can check over there. So here for the users representation, what I will do means instead of fetching the data from the table, here I am going to mock it some couple of users for verifying the users. Okay, so what I will do, let's create a one more class like the entities with data. If you use database, you can use. Here I am just creating normal class and mock that class with the some values, assuming like that those data is coming from the database. And here I will create one more entities. Inside of entities, I will create class like user. In real time, this class is nothing but that represents our table class in the code first approach. So namespace hot. So I already have a snippet for this class. So what I will do, I will copy paste it. This is my table represented class. Okay. Here some basic data about the user table like first name, last name, email, password, and phone number. Okay. So in mutations, what I will do, I will create a some mock data using that user class. So private. So like this, what I will do, I will mock the data. So okay, to save some time, I will copy paste my already existing my mock data. So this is my user mock data where I am going to validate against my payload whether the user sent by the user credentials passed by the user is valid or not. Okay, and that is my mock data for users. So let's create user login resolver method. So public string user login. Okay, and input is like login input and login. Okay, and here what I will do, I will check whether the user is exist or not as a first step. Current user equal to what is my users where okay, email dot to lower equal to login input dot email. Okay, and see here I am not encrypting or decrypting the password, but in real time, please make sure to while registering the user, you should uh, encrypt your user password by using some salt key like that. So on validating user password also, you need to use same logic like encrypting using the salt key, and you should uh, compare that encrypted password value with database. So here in the demo purpose, I am checking the raw password. So in real time, make sure to use those password guidelines, how to save it to the database and how to compare it when the user is trying to access the login. Okay. password. So here I am checking the user. If user exists, current user not equal to null. Okay. If user exists, then I'm simply going to return. I need to return. I have to generate JWT access token and return it to the client. So here we haven't entered into the implementation of JWT. So for now, I will return a some empty string that will be like a fake access token for now. And if user doesn't exist, return empty. Your client application will handle. Or else you can throw error also based on your business rules. Okay. In general, there might be more preferences returning in an object. You can do that as well. Okay. Here I am simply returning string as my access token. So that's my skeleton structure or basic implementation of my user login resolver method. But this is a C# method. It cannot be understood by GraphQL. So for that purpose, we need to create a one more GraphQL object type for this mutation object. Okay, and so that GraphQL can read these mutations as well. For that, what I have to do, I will go to GraphQL, create one more folder like object types. See, previously we have created input object types. Input object types is nothing but to read the payload from the users. Okay, there is a difference between the input object types and object types as well. And in the object types, mutation object type dot cs. Okay, so public class mutation object type. Okay, now we need to inherit object type that is from GraphQL. See, it loads from hot chocolate types.graphql. So import it, and here we need to pass our mutation. Okay, this is similar process, and we need to register our method, user login method inside of the mutation as a field over here. So let's override the protected method, override void configure. Okay, here I am going to register it. Descriptor dot field. Here field is nothing but my method, user login method. Okay, here it is expecting some input values, right? Here while registering we can pass them as default. Okay, and I will name it this field name username. So this name should be used in the client side while calling this mutation query. Okay, so please make sure to give a relevant name. And next, it is returning string type, right? Which is our JWT access token. So I will return type as string type. And here we need to call one more extension method like arguments. To capture the arguments, we need to call argu arguments, and first parameter will be argument name. That name should match with this input parameter name. So login. Okay. And here object type, pass it, and here we need to define the type of the argument name. Okay. We know What is the argument type in mutation? Login input. But this cannot be directly understood by GraphQL, right? What it is mapping name login input object type. So this should be registered in the mutation object. So that's about the registering our resolver method in the mutation object type. Now, final step is we need to register our mutation object type in the startup services so that while executing the GraphQL schema, it will read the all mutations from the mutation object type registered fields. So let's go to startup.cs. Let's add extension method like add mutation type and here configure our mutation object type. Okay. So let's try to access our mutation resolver with this fake token only so that we can confirm that our basic communication for GraphQL to our user login resolver has done. So let's check the endpoint. Let's run the application. So once our application is launched, our default page from .NET 5 is Swagger. So here we need to navigate to GraphQL endpoint like GraphQL. So this is the GraphQL endpoint. Okay. So this will look like this. This tab I'm going to explain in the upcoming steps. Okay. So normally like this, it will be available. But if you see to run it, it is not, it is disabled. Means we need to furnish our queries here, and we need to trigger this run button, but it is disabled. Some issue happened. Yes, our GraphQL endpoint is down. Schema builder unable to identify the query type. Okay, here it is expecting along with the mutation query type also it is expecting. But as for our requirement till now, we don't have any requirement to develop the query type. But the GraphQL service is expecting query type file as well. So for that, what we will do to fix this issue, we will create a dummy query class and with one dummy query resolver in it. Okay. So what I will do, we can skip this creating query everything if you want. In core, I will write like query.cs. Okay. And space chocolate GraphQL JWT GraphQL core shift alt F public class query. Okay, shift alt F. And here I will have a resolver like dummy resolver like string and like some welcome method resolver I am going to create. Okay. And I will going to return like welcome everyone. This is my fake query resolver. Okay. Now I need to create query object type for this query class. Minimize it. And here in object types, let's create one more query object type .cs. Okay. Shift Alt F, public class query object type, and we know it should inherit object type from hot chocolate library, and we need to pass our query. Okay, and we need to register our resolver here, and for that let's override the well-known method, override void configure. Okay, here descriptor field and method is like welcome, and it's a div, no input parameters. Okay, okay, and name, I will name it as welcome as well, and its return type is string type, string type. So that's it about creating some fake query object type. So let's register it as well in the startup. Okay, let's go here, startup, and let's call one more extension method, query type, and query object type. Copy this name. Let's go to startup. Okay, sorry, wrong namespace. Let's copy it from here and paste it over here. And it will resolve in startup as well. So that's it, our configuration. Let's save everything and check our GraphQL endpoint. This is not enabling because we need to give same URL here as well. So I forgot to mention this. This is a banana cupcake IDE editor, especially built in for to view the or query the GraphQL endpoint while using the hot chocolate. Okay, see now it is enabled. And now for our mutation, how the GraphQL query, everything I have already created, and that can be seen in this tab. Okay, this is my mutation query. So this name should match with this name where mutation object. So this name just let me cross check it. Okay, login, and this variable name should be registered variable name same, login same, and here we are using variable. So here this variable, here we need to specify this, and this login type should match with our C# type, C# login type. So where is that? Login input type should match with this. Okay, and let's now here I am sending email and password. Okay, to the mutation endpoint. So let's run it and check the output. See, I'm getting fake token, means my endpoint is successful. Let's give some password wrong. See, 134 password. I don't have any such user with that password. Okay, my password is 1234. But I changed my password, given wrong password, and check. Okay, it is not working. It is always giving true only. Is the issue? Okay, sorry. First default. Okay, I think it should fix now. Let's try. Okay, reloaded. Let's run. 1, 2, 3, 4 also giving some data. Sorry, and let's test now. And also click here tool or for email. Uh, Logic is wrong. Okay. Hope it's work now. So let's first check with accurate user payload like user credentials. Let's check when I give fake, I should get empty. See, now it is working. So it is perfectly validating my GraphQL endpoint, and now I'm getting access token when I give correct credentials. If I am giving any wrong user credentials that are not exist in my mock data, then I am going to get the empty results. So till now we have completed the mutation endpoint for our login user. Now we need to jump into JWT logic, and for that I am going to use custom JWT login by using NuGet like. So this is the NuGet that we are going to require to develop the logic related to JWT. So let me copy this system.identityModel.tokens.jwt command. Go over here. Let's open one more terminal. I'm pasting my command. I think it is installed. To confirm it, let's open our cproj file. Okay, see here my token package is installed. So next step is, so in this JWT token we need to maintain few configurations in the config section or anywhere, either in database or app.json config file. So let's create them. So I have already a snippet of them. I will going to copy paste it here. So these are the settings that are required while generating JWT access token. So here like issuer is nothing but our server domain, can give anything, but a normal recommended way is to give the domain name. Like here I am giving my application domain name, and audience also you can give any string type. It is like explaining our application type API. So I am giving API value, and this key is the main key. This key will be used as the salt or for encryption or the decryption of the JWT token to generate with the access token. Here I am created a plain string like my secured key 123 410, my secured key 123 410. You can give anything, but best approach is to give some encrypted string or the random string that is used as your secret key. Okay, you can generate it using some online also to get the some random string as a secret key. If you use like this plain text also, not a problem, but it should be stored as a secret one. Okay, but it is not recommended. You should use the encrypted value most probably if possible. And now I need to use them. So I need to register in the startup so that I can consume them very easily in my required classes in my application wherever I want it. So let's go to startup file. Okay, before register, we need to create a model for these settings. So let me create like token settings.cs. So here I have created a token setting class that represent each property in the my JSON file. Okay, now we need to register it in the startup file. So let's go to startup file. Okay, here let's register to load app settings, token settings, services. dot configure token settings. Name in the app setting JSON root name, copy it and come to our startup and mention here. So register like this, okay? And we need to use them as one of the property inside of our mutation. For that, I'm going to use, I will inject into the method using service attribute that loads from the GraphQL, sorry, hot chocolate, and I will define the type like options, token settings. Okay, and token settings dot token settings. Okay, so I have injected using hot chocolate service attribute I options that loads token settings my JSON file. And since signature of our method change, right, we need to update in our mutation object type as well. Like simply we will add one more default input parameter. So that's it. And now let's write logic for generating access token where security key equal to new symmetric security. So symmetric security key. See, this loads from Microsoft Identity tokens. So initialize this object. So initialize this object, and here it is expecting some bytecode of key. So here we need to pass our key. Secret key we have added right in our JSON file. So we need to pass this to symmetric key, but it is a string. We need to convert into byte array this string and we pass to symmetric key. Why all these things we are doing? We are going to create some digital signing credentials. Using that credentials based on the input information we have passed to the JWT token. In the upcoming steps, I will show that. So using those combinations, it will generate a encrypted token, nothing but the access token. Okay. For that, we are doing everything here. Mutation. So encoding dot ut wait dot get bytes and pass our uh, token value dot key. Okay, so here creating security key and next is credentials equal to sign in credentials. See, this is also loads from that. You pick the definition. Microsoft Identity.models token. Okay. Here we need to pass our security key. Need to specify and we need to specify algorithm like security algorithm dot HMCA short 256. Okay. So based on this algorithm, it will encrypt the credentials, generate the sign-in credentials. Okay. Till now we have created the digital signature encrypted credentials. Now we need to create a JWT token object, JWT security token. See, we put the namespace, okay, and There are so many overloaded methods in that. I'm going to use one overloaded method of this JWT security token, like issuer equal to token settings dot value dot issuer loads from our JSON file, and audience equal to token settings dot value dot audience, and expiration token expirations. I'm going to add 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I'm giving as expiration time. And credentials, I'm going to give the credentials that we have created above. Okay, credentials, sign in credential. Oh, yes. So this is my JWT token. What we are doing, we are giving issuer value, audience value, expiration value, and make sure that issuer, audience, and this key value that are loading from the JSON will be used in another place, where in startup file to validate the access token. Okay, so that will be, I will explain in the another video. So after generating the JWT token object, security token object, we need to generate the encrypted string. For that, project new JWT security token handler, write token. Here we will pass our JWT token object. This write object will return a string that is nothing but the encrypted JWT token. So that's it. So one more time, I am recapping the code here. We are creating the credentials using our security key by using the JWT library symmetry security key and signing credentials, and we are using algorithm to encrypt the secured key. And next we are assigning to JWT security object, we are assigning our issuer audience. These are optional, but it is best way to add them so that we can verify them while users sending this JWT access token as a authorization header. So here I am giving expiration of my token to 20 minutes, and the created credentials are assigned into signing credentials. And using JWT security handler, I am generating the string of access token. So I think that's all about our implementation. Let's test it again. So here already existing wrong password, right? I am giving correct password. Let's test it. See, now we are getting encrypted JWT access token. This is a valid encrypted JWT access token. So we have successfully completed our goal to generate the JWT access token from the GraphQL mutation endpoint. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to explain about how to validate this endpoint against our server while user is sending it as a authorization header. So after successful validation, we are going to learn about all the different techniques of the authorization in the GraphQL, Hot Chocolate GraphQL library in the next video. So I think this video has delivered some useful information about the GraphQL endpoint accessing JWT token. Okay, if you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. We will meet you again with a new video. Until then, signing off.